I think this talk is the most important thing I do every year. Not just at the law school. I mean, the most important thing I do every year, period, is this talk. Because I believe your happiness, your professional satisfaction is so vital. And I am committed to your professional satisfaction. I'm committed to doing whatever I can do to help you become a professionally satisfied lawyer. Why? Because you have worked so hard. You have worked so hard. You worked so hard in college to be able to get the grades to come here, and you've worked so hard here. And I know that you're looking forward to working hard in your career. And the idea that you might not be professionally satisfied, to me, it's a potential tragedy. It's nothing less than a tragedy. It's unacceptable that you might end up being not professionally satisfied. I refuse to accept it. And I am going to do everything I can to prevent that from happening. Look, I know this experience, especially for you first years, it's humbling, isn't it, being a law student? It's really humbling. There's some other adjectives we could use. How about grinding? How about dehumanizing? How about depressing? I bring that up to you because, unfortunately, that fits in a negatively synergistic way with the pull and tug that you may have to end up in a job you don't like. Resist. Resist. You can do it. You can end up in a job you will really like. No matter who you are, no matter what your grades are, if you will work at it, you will find a job you really like. Okay, now, in order for us to go about the business of determining how to find a job you'll really like, we have to determine what is the job you'll really like. What is that job? And in order to determine that, we have to decide what will make you happy, what will make you satisfied. And to get to that, we have to look at what makes people, especially lawyers, satisfied. What is it that we professionals find satisfying or find unsatisfying about our work? So let's start with that. Let's start with what kind of work is likely to make lawyers, and therefore us, happy. In that regard, there's an article that was published in the ABA Journal a while ago called, "Are You Happy Now?" And it's a great article. And it involves a whole bunch of survey research. And I'm not going to go through it all with you, but I am going to go through 5 questions and answers. And I'd like to ask you what you think are the correct answers, and then compare to what the survey says were correct, and then try to determine what lessons we can learn from those answers. So the first question is this. The National Opinion Research Center at the University of Chicago surveyed workers in 198 occupations, asking whether they were very satisfied with their careers. Among the professionals surveyed were lawyers, doctors, accountants, clergy, and teachers. Lawyers, doctors, accountants, clergy, and teachers. Which group is the most professionally satisfied? Lawyers, accountants, doctors, clergy, teachers. Who are the most satisfied? Shout it out. Okay, too much shouting. Can I see a hand, please? Yes, sir. Clergy. Who else says clergy? Show of hands, please. Quite a few hands. Quite a few hands. Another nominee for most satisfied. Yes.
Teachers.
Teachers. I see nods. Who agrees with teachers? Quite a few hands, about equal to clergy. Definitely a majority of the room chose clergy or teachers. Okay, the answer is clergy, and number 2 is teachers. Why? Why are clerics and teachers the most professionally satisfied? What's the reason? I mean, you seem to know what the right answer is, so what's the reason? Yes, sir.
They're doing exactly what they want to do.
Well, but you could say that about accountants, couldn't you? Or doctors or lawyers. I mean, they might be. What is there about the clergy or being a teacher that makes someone professionally satisfied? Ben?
Maybe that they have a tangible impact on their community.
Tangible impact on their community. I think I like that. Yes, sir.
I think it might arise from a selection bias. So clergy and especially teachers are not especially high pay. And so the people who are invested in those programs.
The people who are there want to be there because they're not making much money. Well, maybe they're not making much money because they couldn't get a job as a doctor or a lawyer. Is that possible? Is that possible? It's possible. It's possible. Yes.
I guess for teachers, it would be the maybe work-life balance. It's very class starts, class ends, summer's off, spring break.
That's what you think.
That's what I think.
That's what you think.
Yeah,
that's what you think.
Think.
That's what you think. Okay. My job is never done. Anybody else want to offer a suggestion? Yes, sir.
I think they're doing what they're passionate about.
Yeah, but that's sort of similar to what I heard before. They're doing what they like. May I suggest a possible answer? I mean, I think something like this has been said, but I'll put it in a little different term. Human contact. Human contact. If you're in the clergy or you're a teacher, you have a lot of human contact. You're with the people who you're serving very, very closely. Among the 3 remaining, accountants, doctors, and lawyers, which of that group do you think has the least human contact? Accountants. Yeah, I think accountants would be correct. And I think that's why accountants is last in terms of professional satisfaction. And doctors are third because as among the 5, they're in that middle. They don't have quite as much contact with the people they serve as clergy or teachers, but more than lawyers and more than accountants. Okay, so have we learned something so far from this? Or maybe we didn't learn anything, but maybe what we thought coming in here has been affirmed. Question 2. Something called U.S. News and World Report. And they place law schools into 4 tiers. Have you ever heard about that? And with the first tier schools being the most highly ranked, lawyers who report the highest level of career satisfaction are graduates of law schools ranked in which tier? Which tier? Which of the 4 tiers produce the happiest lawyers? Yes, all the way in the back.
I think probably 2.
2. Is that because Hastings is in the second? Excuse me. UC Law San Francisco is in the 2nd tier? No? Okay. Why do you think that?
Probably because being in tier 1, tier 2, also comes with expectation. Not as
Okay, and for the benefit of the reporting, what you have said is that tier 1 comes with expectations, and so does tier 2, but perhaps not with the same level of expectations. Are there other thoughts on this? Anybody want to offer a different guess than tier 2 and a reason? You just want the answer? Okay. Yes, sir.
Tier 4,
Tier 4. Why?
because at the end of the day, they become lawyers like all the other tiers, and you know, they get to practice law in the same exact manner.
Okay. So the guess is tier 4 because they get to be lawyers too, and they get to practice law in the same manner. Is that really true, though? Do the tier 4 grads get jobs at those law firms that are paying $225,000 a year starting salary? What do you think?
No,
No. So they're not really practicing law just like everybody else. They're practicing a different kind of law, aren't they?
Yeah.
They have a barrier to the market entry of being in those firms, don't they? Yes.
I would argue, and this is just coming from my personal perspective and stuff, like in this school in particular, there's more diversity. I see more Latinos. I feel more connected. Whereas like if I feel like maybe, you know, I didn't really check this past, if I would have accepted like Georgetown, I feel like I wouldn't, you know, like maybe see as much people like me or people who are immigrant people, maybe who are women or Latino, or and it just makes me feel like, okay, this is real. Like I feel a sense of community.
First of all, I think that's great. And I wish I were teaching you. But this is about lawyers, not about law students. And I'm not sure that what you have experienced so far at this law school is something that is going to carry over into your practice. I certainly hope that it does. Could I move to the answer? So the answer is tier 4. Tier 4. You want to leave now and get to the treasurer's office and see if you can get a partial refund? and because under your theory, hey, it's all the same, and you're going to be happier. So let's scoot. Let's all scoot. I don't see anybody leaving. On the other hand, I've given this talk at many law schools, including many tier 1 law schools, and when I give that answer about tier 4, there is a palpable look on people's faces like, why am I here exactly? Okay, but what's the reason? So I want to suggest to you that the reason is that the graduates of the tier 4 law schools are going to end up in certain kinds of jobs. They're going to not be in a big firm. They're not going to be in that highly competitive to get into environment. They're going to be in small firms, or they're going to be in small public offices working for maybe at the public defender's office or a DA's office, or perhaps public interest. And they, like clergy and teachers, are going to have a lot of close contact with the people whom they are serving, because they're not in a stratified environment, such as in a big firm where they may be the 8th person on a 7-person team without having any contact with the client. Okay, so by the way, back to the tier 1 schools for a moment. Only 27% of grads from top 10 law schools say they are very satisfied with their career choice. What? How could that be? How could it be true that you could work that hard to get into a top 10 law school, and 73% of graduates report that they are not very satisfied with their career choice? There's something really wrong happening if that's true. That's really wrong. Don't let that happen to you. Okay? Question 3. What order of law practice corresponds to how satisfied lawyers in each practice type say they are with their careers? So I'm going to give you 3 practice types, and then you'll tell me the order. Big firm as 1, small firm or solo as 2, and then public sector as 3. So public sector, small firm, solo, big firm. Let's just start with this. So let's start with this. Who are the unhappiest? Big law, correct. And then who are the happiest? Yeah, so public sector is first, but I think that just right behind ends up being small firms and solo. Now here's a fact. When you get into the data, listen to this one. This is as bad as the last one I gave you in terms of the data point. 44% of big firm lawyers say they are satisfied with their career choice. Let's just spend a moment on that statistic. 44% of big firm lawyers say they are satisfied with their career choice. So that only counts the lawyers who are in big law when the survey was done. It doesn't count the ones who started in big law, weren't satisfied, and left. Right? So talking about selection bias, right? That's remarkable. And notice the question is not very satisfied with their career choice. It's just satisfied with their career choice. 44% of big firm lawyers report they're satisfied with their career choice, which means 56% of incumbent big firm lawyers are not satisfied with their career choice. While we're at statistics, if you don't mind, here's one more. 80% of all matriculants to large firms leave within the first 6 years. 80%. So we're talking about now that subset of lawyers who stay, which is a minority of those who go there. And even most of those are not satisfied with their career choice, according to this survey. Two more questions. What aspect of the actual practice of law most disappoints lawyers when compared to their expectations at the start of their careers? This is a difficult question, I think, because this is asking you what you think lawyers who are about my age say is most disappointing about the way their career has worked out compared to what they thought it would be when they were sitting in your seats. You with me? What aspect of the actual practice of law most disappoints lawyers when compared to their expectations at the start of their careers? Here are the four choices. Their level of financial remuneration, right? Their pay. The intellectual challenge of their job. Their ability to contribute to the public good. The quality of their relationships with their colleagues. Which aspect that I just articulated do you think most disappoints lawyers compared to what they thought it would be when they started their careers? Want to hear the four again? Pay, intellectual challenge of job, ability to contribute to public good, quality of relations with their colleagues.
Ability to contribute to the public.
Ability to contribute to the public good is correct. That is correct. Only 16% of lawyers had their expectations met in that regard. Ugh. Ugh. That means if that were to be carried forward, that would mean that 84% of you would be disappointed in the way your practice worked out because you weren't able to contribute to the public good as much as you thought you would when you were here. And I think that you're that kind of person, if you don't mind my saying so about you. I wouldn't want that to happen to anybody who wants to contribute to the public good, that you leave here and not be able to do it. Okay. Now that we've gone through those 5 questions as the answers, may I ask you this question? Is anybody surprised at what I just said? Did anybody really learn anything aside from maybe having your beliefs about this, maybe your assumptions, maybe some of the things you've read or talked about with others confirmed? I don't think so. I think I put some data behind your suspicions, and that's important, but it's not really that shocking. So what can we glean from the 5 answers? Well, I think what we can glean is that you're most likely to end up being happy if you're in a place where you have direct contact with the people whom you're serving, whatever that might be. It doesn't have to be a public interest or or working for the government or a small firm or a solo firm, because there's a lot of variation in people's abilities there and happiness and the like. You might even be able to achieve that in a big firm if you have that kind of direct contact, because that direct contact really matters. We've learned that making a lot of money does not correlate positively with happiness. That ability to contribute to the public good and feeling that you're in a place where you're doing that does. And I think that we should ask ourselves: is this describing who you think you are? That do you think that you might be happiest someplace where you have a strong connection with others, where you feel like you're doing important work, where you feel like you're doing the kind of work that you like, whatever that might be, as opposed to somebody's stereotypical conception of what it is you think they think you should be doing. So I have a 4-step suggestion for you on how you go about getting a job you'll really like. Now that we talked about the data and how it might relate to you. The first step is you got to say to yourself, what do I think I like? Because you're most likely to be happy working in an area of law that you like. That's what this says. That's what you know in your gut anyway. So how many people here are first years? Well, okay, so almost everybody. Good, you can be rescued. There's still time. You've had one semester of courses. You've had a half a semester of courses. What do you like? Do you like contracts? Do you like crim? Do you like torts? Whatever. Do you like a couple of things? Do you hate everything? So maybe you hate one thing less than something else. Can you isolate what you hate the least? Okay, go there. I mean it. What do you like? What do you think you like? Pick the 1 or 2 things you think you like, and let's get a summer job in that area. Point 2, second step. Where do you want to end up living? Do you want to live in San Francisco? Do you want to live in Spokane? Do you want to live in Fresno? Okay. Seems a little elitist. Okay. Where do you want to live? Where do you want to live? Figure out the 1 or 2 places you think you're most likely to want to live. And then let's go about the business of finding the best job we can in the area of law that you think interests you in the place where you want to live. And let's remember, you only have 2 summers to really figure this out. If you're first year. If you're second year, you have 1 summer. If you're a third year, please see me after the lecture. And then go about the business of figuring out, in step 3, what are the potential employers in that city that practice in the area of law that most interests you. So this, by the way, is deceptively simple. So you might say, hey, you know what? I really like trusts and estates. I want to be a trust and estates lawyer. And hey, I'm from Spokane. And there was no wincing when I said Spokane, by the way. It was only when I got to Fresno that there was wincing. And I like Spokane, and I want to be in Spokane, and I want to do trust and estates work. Now, do you have any doubt that you could figure out very quickly what are the top trust and estates firms in Spokane? I have no doubt you could very quickly, because one thing you guys all know that you're good at is getting online and typing in keywords and figuring stuff out very quickly. So what would you type in? Something like Trusted Estates law firm, Spokane, Washington, boom, up come a whole series of firms. And you guys know how to read websites, don't you? Right? You guys know how to separate BS from real, don't you? And you guys know how to differentiate the billboard lawyer from the accomplished lawyer, correct? Right? I think you do. You look at their actual accomplishments. You look at what they've done. You look at the committees that they served on. You might look at their education. That's relevant. You look at their testimonials if they're really real, not like XY, right? But like a real person and the like. You do some research. You see if they've been in the newspaper. Make some phone calls to Spokane. Hey, you're from Spokane. It's not that hard. You know, who do you think are the best trust and estates firms in Spokane? You call some people. You get the list. It would take you tops 30 minutes. Tops. By the way, while I'm at the issue of time on this subject, this is really important. Okay, for my students, and I see a lot of them here, this is more important than my class. All right, no missing my class for this, but you don't have to miss my class for this. It's more important than my class, though. You getting a really good job for you, a good job for you, is more important than my class. It's really important. So you got to lean into this. You got to spend the time at this. Okay, you have the time. You have the time. So do the research. That's step 3. Then what you have to do, step 4, is you gotta really work it. You gotta send out letters to these firms saying, "Can I talk to you? Will you interview me? May I have either an informational interview?" That's fine for some letters, or a job interview. That's fine for some letters, or you don't have to specify. That's fine for some letters. Make the letters personal. That is to say, tell the folks that you're from Spokane, you want to return to Spokane to practice. Tell the folks that you're writing to why you're writing to them. You've researched carefully, and you see that they are one of the top, if not the top firm in Spokane that does trust and estates work. And if you know something about their accomplishments, mention their accomplishment. They want to see that you've taken the time to figure out who they are. Butter them up. Okay, everybody wants that. That's fine. And send them your resume. And then follow up with a phone call to the lawyer to whom you're writing. Write to if it's not immediately obvious who to write to from the website of the firm, if there's no hiring partner or managing partner listed, write to the first person on the letterhead, or the first person on the website, or the lead name of the firm if that person is still living. And then get on the phone and call and try to get a FaceTime/Zoom interview set up. Just ask for 15, 20 minutes of the time of the person with whom you're seeking to connect. And make them say no. Make them say no. A no answer is better than no answer. But you got to work to get the no answer, because a lot of people are just not going to respond. But a lot of people will respond because they don't get those letters. That's kind of shocking, but it's true. Those letters are not received because they're not sent. Because nearly everybody in nearly every law school gets a job through OCI or something like OCI. And, I don't know that OCI is the place to get a job in a trust and estates firm in Spokane. How many trust and estates firms from Spokane come down here for OCI? 0. How many trust and estates firms come here? 5. Okay. How many firms from Spokane come here? 0. Okay. So even if you wanted to go into some area of law in Spokane, OCI is not going to be your answer. Hey, Spokane isn't really even that far from here. I mean, it's in the same part of the country, and this is a real city, and this is a real law school with lots of law students looking for jobs. So the fact that nobody comes from Spokane ought to tell us something. You know what else these questions and answers tell us? And you kind of know this, but let me lay it on you if I could. The same employers come to UC Law San Francisco that go across the bay to Berkeley and down the peninsula to Santa Clara and down the peninsula to Stanford and over to Davis and down the coast to USC and UCLA, and then out to Chicago and Denver and Houston and New Orleans and Philadelphia and everywhere else. Yeah, I know there's a little bit of local flavor here for that, but a lot of these national employers are going all across the country. But the couple of hundred law firms and legal employers that come here, they represent less than 1% of all American legal employers. And so when you go to OCI, if you're putting all your eggs in the OCI basket, you are competing with all of your classmates and all of the students in this law school who are above you or below you in class, and then all the other law students down the peninsula and across the bay and across the state and across the country who are seeking to get a job with that same less than 1% of American legal employers. Why would you do that? Why would you limit yourself to just the people with whom everybody else is competing for a job? It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Whereas if you write those letters to the apocryphal, and you know, of course, it's apocryphal, Trust and Estates firm in Spokane, or whatever family law firm in San Jose, they're not getting any letters because everybody's doing OCI. I am the co-founding partner of a 60-lawyer firm in Philadelphia. We're doing okay. I get no letters. I get no letters. If I were to get a letter, I would read it. Because first of all, I get no mail. I get no mail. But seriously, lawyers don't get mail anymore. Fact. The only thing that come in the mail to lawyers in 2024 are advertising circulars. Because all legal papers are served by email these days. So we don't get any actual letters. And notice, I said letter. I didn't say email. I said letter. Send a letter. It's fine to put at the top via US mail and email, and it's fine to send it by email also, but it has to go by mail. Why? Because you have to make an impression. You'll make an impression by sending a letter. Two, the person you're sending the letter to is not going to get it by email reliably because we have these spam filters. It is such a fight. I had it this morning with my legal assistant. There are so many important communications that I don't see because they get caught up in what they call a spam filter in my office or junk mail, or you know what? It's not junk and it's not spam. It's stuff I need to see, but I don't see it because if it's not a recognized email address, it doesn't come through to me because we're all worried about a cyber attack. So stuff doesn't come through. It doesn't get opened. It doesn't get past the gates. We have to go through this cumbersome process to open something. It's just ridiculous, but it's a fact. And your email address will be unfamiliar to the lawyer to whom you're sending these communications, so you must send a letter. And you will get interviews. You'll get 15, 20 minutes of a FaceTime interview. And that's fine, by the way. You don't have to have an in-person interview. Not for a summer job. Firms will hire you for the summer without an in-person interview, not for a permanent job. You should do that, obviously, in person for reasons that I don't need to explain. But for a summer job, it's fine for it to be a Zoom call, both for you and for them. And you'll get interviews. And maybe you won't get lots of offers. Maybe you'll get one. Maybe one's all you need. Maybe you'll get none, but you'll get a lead. Hey, I'm not hiring, but my colleague down the street needs somebody. I'll put you together with them. Make friends, make connections. That's how these things work. That's how you'll get a job. And you will land a job this way. It will happen. I guarantee it. I know what the word guarantee means, okay? I guarantee it. If you go do this, if you lean into it, if you send out 15 to 20 letters and emails in a really, really organized way, in a way that's very sensitive, with individually tailored letters, talking about who you are and why you think you're a fit and who they are and why you admire them, You will get interviews and you will get an offer. And if you don't, you can come back to me and I will help you get a job. I'll help you get a job you really like. But that way, it's a pretty good offer. It's a pretty good offer. I've made that offer every year. And I get a very occasional person take me up on it. You know why? Because this thing works. You don't have to come back to me to have the guarantee pay off because it's going to work. It's going to work. So let me go through some other aspects of this, if I could. One thing is try to split your summer. You only have 2 summers to figure this out. And I'd rather see you have 4 opportunities for obvious reasons than 2, because 4 gives you more flexibility. And with the people to whom you're writing, if you say you want to come work there for 6 to 8 weeks, something like that, that's actually easier for them to say yes to you than if you say you want to come there for, 12, 14 weeks, because, they have to entertain you less long, pay you less long, and the like. So it's better for them, better for you. I know that big firms won't let you split your summer. Back when I was your age, big firms let folks split their summer. And then they figured out that didn't work out well for them, because by letting you split your summer, they were cutting in half the chances that you'd ever join them. By the way, what does that tell you about what big firms think about who matters more, you or them? Right? If they cared about you, they would say to you, of course you can split. We want to accommodate that. We don't need 12 weeks to decide whether we're going to offer you a permanent job. And they don't. Mm-hmm. And you don't need 12 weeks to decide whether you want to work permanently at a particular law firm or other job opportunity. 6 weeks is plenty. In fact, 3 to 4 weeks may be plenty. On the negative side, an hour might be plenty for you to decide you don't want to work there. And you know what I mean. So push the split. If you end up in a job for 12 weeks, you're still going to have a shoulder on one side of the summer or the other. Use the shoulder. Line up a position with somebody for something for 3 or 4 weeks. Do it. I know you'd rather, lay on the couch for 3 or 4 weeks. Okay, I get that. Or maybe you would. I shouldn't assume that. I would rather lay on the couch for 3 or 4 weeks. I'm prepared to admit that. But I'm also prepared to say to you that you got to take this really seriously. You got to use those weeks. You got to figure out where you want to end up being. And if you can have a second opportunity, it's going to give you more information, more opportunities, more contacts, more exposure, more options. It matters. Okay. Next. Okay. Let's talk about money, right? Because somebody here has got to be saying to themselves, okay, yeah, all right, this is all fine for you, but what about me with my loans? Who's thinking that right now? Okay, come on, guys. It's okay. That's okay. You can admit it. Okay. So, there are a lot of law firms that will pay law students whom they want to recruit to work there permanently a lot of money. And a lot of them don't advertise it. Yeah, I know that the big whatever, what's the current number, like 100 or big 50 or whatever the current number is, the AmLaw 200 or whatever. I know they're bragging. We were the first to offer $225 a year, and this one followed that one, in 5 minutes. And I know all of that. But I know law firms that will pay that stupid number to first-year lawyers that aren't in the AmLaw 50, 100, 200, 500. But they'll do it. They're a small office, and they want the best people they can find. And they know they have to pay that crazy number, because if they don't, that lawyer-to-be is going to end up working someplace else, who's going to pay that number. And just so we're clear about this, because I don't want there to be any misconception about it. There are very, very few first-year lawyers that are truly worth $225,000 to the law firm for whom they're working, or to the clients whom they are serving. So why are they being paid that amount? Because that's what the market will bear, because they are exceptional lawyers to be in the perception of the marketplace. And so they can demand that level of income. Good for them. And shame on the law firms who just say reflexively, oh yeah, we want the best possible people, but we're not going to pay $225,000 a year. It takes some time for law firms to get over that mental gymnastic that they have to go through. But a lot of them have done it. Okay, I work at one of those law firms. I know. And I know a lot of my peer law firms have gotten over that. In my area of practice, this is not a talk about being a plaintiff's lawyer, in case you hadn't already noticed. This is a talk about getting a job you really like. And but it's a fact that a lot of small plaintiffs firms, small, I say, a small firm today is a firm that's under 100 or some number like that, 50, will pay that crazy number because they don't want to lose the top applicants to name the big law firm. They don't want to do it. They just don't advertise it. So that's the first thing. You can make a lot of money someplace else, is point one. Point two is, excuse me, you don't need $225,000 a year in Spokane to live like you would on 225 in San Francisco. Right? And that's something you can easily figure out, but it's probably more like 150 versus 225. So don't be crazy about it. You can live in that same quote luxury unquote, and wait till you see how fast the money gets spent, by the way, whatever you're being paid. But the cost of living in some of those places is much less. So be respectful of that. Point three, okay. Beware of the Faustian bargain. Remember Goethe's Faust? The person who sought and accepted the short-term pleasure at the expense of the long-term pain. If you are so set on getting the job for $210,000 or $205,000 or $225,000 or whatever crazy number we're up to now. I think last year I gave this talk was $195,000. I just think it's just gone crazy. But okay. If that's really what you end up fixing on, think about what pain you may be accepting down the road. Because are you going to get real training in that place? I know they tell you you're going to get real training, but how can you get real training if you're the 8th person on a 7-person team? How can you get real training if you want to be a trial lawyer, but you're never trying a case? You're never taking a deposition. You're never defending a deposition. You're in a windowless room doing the same things you were doing when you were in a windowless room in law school. And you absolutely must, wherever you go, as an irreducible minimum, be developing transferable and marketable skills. Oh my God, you must do that. Because no job is forever. And you have to be able to parachute out, not fall out, parachute out. And a lot of these old and famous names of law firms, they're gone. Dewey LaBeouf, I know you don't know who that was, but that was a 2,000 lawyer firm that went out of business overnight in 2008. And where I come from in Philadelphia, the most famous law firms when I was your age, Wolf Block, Schneider, liquidated, gone, one day, gone. Banks won't extend letters of credit to lawyers. The firm goes away overnight. Who makes it in that situation? The people who have transferable and marketable skills. And put aside, okay, and I recognize that's the black swan situation, but hey, if you're one of the 80% of matriculants to big firms who ends up leaving in the first 6 years, in order to end up someplace good in a job you'll like, that's meaningful, you have to have developed transferable and marketable skills. So that ends up being absolutely necessary. And you have to ask yourself, am I going to a place where, yeah, maybe I'm getting the shiny object of a paycheck, but over here, in terms of developing transferable and marketable skills, I'm not going to be getting that. That is a Faustian bargain. Don't let it happen to you. And yeah, you know what? Trying a case as a first-year lawyer, it's stressful. And I get that. I did it. It was very stressful. And things like that, taking depositions, the first time you do it, it's stressful. If that's what you want to be, for example, as a trial lawyer, or whatever area of law you want to be in, doing the tough things is stressful, but that's how you learn. If you permit yourself to be cosseted, you're not doing yourself any favors, because you're only going to be powerful in the marketplace if you're skilled. And if you limit your development of skills, you can't possibly be in that position. May I check my notes? I think I'm almost done with my points. Should you include your transcript in the letter? Okay. Yes, if your grades are good. No, if your grades aren't. One of the great things about my approach is these employers, they're not repeat players in the marketplace. A lot of them are never going to ask you for your transcript. It's very interesting that way. They're more interested in the fact that you like them and that you want to work there and that you've got a good resume, which all of you do because you're here. That, by the way, brings me to something else I want to say to you, which is you have a lot of leverage being here. I don't know if you realize how much leverage you have. I think for a lot of you, maybe it's the first time in your life that you've had leverage, because you've been grinding for so long. But this is a great law school, and people really know the law school. And so as long as you put Hastings in the parenthesis, formerly Hastings, close parenthesis, people will recognize the name of the law school. And I mean that like half in jest, all in earnest. And it matters. It matters. People know where you're coming from. So you really can do well, surprisingly well, maybe to you, not to me, based upon your credentials. You've got great credentials, but you don't have to include your transcript. Yeah, I want to say one more thing about this figure that I've given you about most people that go to big firms end up leaving. I want to put it another way for you to think about, and then I'll take questions. How many of you are risk preferential? Not risk adverse, risk preferential. No hands. How many of you are risk adverse? Okay, how many of you just don't want to say? All right, so I think most law students are risk adverse. I think a way to think about the big firm part of this is that to go to a big firm, you would have to be risk preferential, because you'd have to be thinking, hey, I can beat the odds. I can be that 1 in 6 who's going to 1 in 5 who's going to stay more than 6 years. Why would you think that? What is there about you that makes you think that you're going to be that person? The other thing I want to say is I think you can be happy at a big firm. I think it's possible. There are people who are happy in big firms, and I could see creating a job that would make you happy in a big firm. I had somebody from, I don't think it was this law school, say to me a few years ago, hey, I can go to work, name the firm, you'd all know the firm if I said it to you, working in their oil and gas group in Denver. It's a 6-lawyer team. All they're doing is oil and gas work. I like oil and gas work. What do you think? I said, do it. I love that job. Why do I love that job? You're doing what you want. You're working with a small team. You're going to definitely develop transferable and marketable skills. Hey, oil and gas work isn't going anywhere, okay? That's going to be around for a long time. Whether we want it to be is maybe a different question, but the work is going to be there for a long time, okay? But think about what that job really is. That's a job in a 6-lawyer firm inside of a mega firm. But if you could make a deal for yourself where you could have like that kind of a niche in an area of practice that you like, in a place that you want to be, that's with it enveloped in a big office, I love that. Then you get the benefit of the crazy starting salary, and you'll get training in a way that's transferable and marketable, and it'll be a niche, and it'll be small in an area of practice you like. I love that idea. So I think it's doable, except that, wow, good luck on negotiating that for yourself. That is really, really hard. I know I could not have gotten that deal when I was in your position. I know very, very few people who I think can get that deal. So I wanted to raise that as a possibility. I'm not against big firms. I'm just against being unhappy. And I'm just worried about you being unhappy. That's what it boils down to. Okay. Questions? Sam's got a point.
Oh. Hi, my name's Sam Stiles.
Stand up, Sam.
My name's Sam Stiles. I'm really happy to be one of the sponsors of the event, or my organization, the Plaintiffs Law Association. And really all I want to do is put myself out there as an additional resource for y'all. While we are plaintiffs focused, we have a bunch of connections to local small to medium-sized firms here in the community. And if you want to come up to me and talk to me about that and brainstorm, if you want to email us, I can write it on the board at the end. It's just PLA@UC Law SF. I care about everybody's happiness too. And I share a similar goal for myself and for everybody here to just find a job that I really, really like. So if you want to brainstorm, feel free to approach me at any time. Feel free to approach Eli in the beanie back there, and Emily Harrington, who's sitting right next to me. And don't see anybody else on our exec board. But anyway, we just want to also be a tool that you can approach to help find that job that's going to make you happy.
So this is definitely not a talk about being a plaintiff's lawyer. I am a plaintiff's lawyer, as has been said. I am really happy in my job. It's also true that nearly every, if not every plaintiff's lawyer I know is happy in their job. People never leave the plaintiff's practice. People never go from being a plaintiff's lawyer to being a defense lawyer. People go from defense lawyers to being plaintiff's lawyers all the time. It's a wonderful practice. It's made me very happy. But it's not for everybody. It's not for most people. And I'm not here to talk about being a plaintiff's lawyer. I'm here to talk about you being happy. And I know it's not for most people. But I know there's a job that'll make you happy, for sure. So that's really why I'm here to talk to you about these things. Other questions?
How did you know that founding your own firm would be a job or something that you do that make you really happy?
Question was, how did I know that founding my own firm would be a job that would make me happy? I didn't know that, and I'm not sure that's necessary. I was very happy where I was, and I didn't leave the Beasley firm 30 years ago because I was unhappy. I left because I thought that I could do better on my own. But Jim Beasley was a great mentor to me, and it was a great firm, and it was a small firm, and I had a great practice, and I could still be there. It's still there. I could still be there, and I'd be happy. The issue to me is not whether you own the firm. The issue to me is whether you're doing work that you find professionally satisfying. That's it. Other questions? Eli.
What would you answer to someone who says, I recognize the fear of going to a big firm and it not being great, but what if I go to a small firm and then I can't switch and I don't like it there?
Well, you can definitely switch. You have a much better chance of switching from a small firm that you don't like than in a big firm where you haven't developed transferable marketable skills. The best size law firm for you to go to, ready for this, is one other lawyer. That would be the best, because that person would have to give you responsible work immediately. There's no choice. The second best size firm would be two, for the same reasons. I would say to you the best size would be zero, that you start your own firm, but it's very hard to come out of law school and start your own firm. Very, very hard. So I am not recommending that, because I think you need mentoring. But the smaller the better. Okay? Please. I mean, I know, look, I know it's not prestigious to work for like a 1-lawyer firm or 2-lawyer firm. Please, you can't eat prestige. Okay? This is not about impressing somebody at a cocktail party. Really. When I went to work for the Beasley firm, coming out of law school, I was the 12th lawyer in that firm. It was so non-prestigious, so non-prestigious. My parents' friend said to me, one guy said to me, well, what do your parents think about your working there? Seriously. Like, you know what I wanted to say to him, right? 2 words, 7 letters in total. Okay? But, okay, I didn't say that. I'll just say it now, right? But the point was, I knew I was gaining important experience. If I'd been working in his firm, I would have been gaining nothing important. This is about me and my future. It's not about whether somebody at a cocktail party is impressed with what I'm doing. And, you know, and let's not be elitist about this, by the way. I pass all these billboards. You know, on my walk around San Francisco. Okay, you're being elitist. I see the smirk. Isha. Okay, maybe it's not a smirk. I think that you could learn a lot by working for a billboard lawyer because there's nobody else to do the work in the office, and you'll be the best lawyer in the office immediately. Okay, that's also elitist, isn't it? Okay, but you'll do great work there, and you'll learn a lot really quickly. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, it's the appointed hour, but let me just leave you with this. I'm available to you. I have an email address here. I have an email. I don't get all my emails that get sent to me, unfortunately, for some reason. But if you want to get a hold of me, I'm happy to talk to you. I'm happy to help you. I mean it. I care about you. Get a job you'll really like. Thank you.